Alrighty, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Play the Hits. With you, as always, is America's greatest hero, Nick Weber, and I am Linus Tech Tips. How you doing tonight, Nick?
We'll talk later. I promise.
Who's lying? Yes.
Who's what
That's
now?
great when we open with a reference I don't get.
You don't watch Linus Tech Tips?
So what?
I don't know who this is.
He's only
I don't
like
know
the most
who like any internet personalities are.
He's only like the most popular tech streamer on YouTube.
We were all pushing real hard for you.
Does he stream Fortnite?
No, he does all the
My frame of reference.
Introduce you to all my cats.
he does all the techno gadgets and whatnot.
Well, that's enough about people I don't know. So, where'd we leave off?
Well, apparently they just fired Cloud, and he doesn't seem to give a shit because he's a brooding anti-hero.
What's up with them?
They paid him off. They paid him what he owed,
Shut up and wait.
and
We'll find
yeah,
him
now
soon
he's
enough.
just doing Cloud stuff. Okay.
Yeah, now he's peacing out. And now there's these emo twats.
Hey, brother. You from around the way?
I guess.
His name is just
No big man
Hoodlum.
with a big gun strapped to his right arm.
When his mother named him Hoodlum, what did she think was gonna come of his career?
Clever.
Is this supposed to be like a
scratch to you?
500.
Filipino like gang? Because that's the vibe I'm getting.
Yeah, I'm getting like downtown Los Angeles
Find
street
somewhere
toughs,
quiet to talk.
but
Walk
like with
me.
slight metrosexual flair. And by slight, I mean screaming.
Well, that was an important
Got something to say?
scene.
You looking at me?
Yeah, like they are. I like the guys following him
Are
in
they
the back
walking
just
in
Oh,
so the
unison
Cloud doesn't
on
make a break
purpose?
for it.
Move it! I said move.
Is this West Side Story?
It's not West Side Story.
Staring at us.
This shithole's got nothing on Walmart.
That's why this is Summer in the City here on Play the Hits. This has got to be like our
I-
least successful theme, Nick.
Real sorry.
Unless you got some kind of death wish. Yeah, be
I
my
don't
guest.
remember this part from the original. Oh, my phone is ringing
After
off the
you,
hook. I'll be
brother.
right back.
All right.
Don't worry. I ain't the backstabbing type. Most days.
This ends about how you'd expect, so you're not really missing anything.
Spill it. You know where the bastard's hiding, don't you?
No.
I told you before. That depends.
Oh yeah? You wasted my time.
Shinra's time, you mean?
Shinra knows better than to stick its nose in my boss's business.
Like I give a shit.
Ah. Cloud used the shit word. So anyways, while we're waiting for Nick,
That's that.
it's been like a solid month and a half since we played this. This was meant to be a summer project, and I just don't see that happening. Oh god, they've got grenades.
Nobody tells me shit.
Better zap them with my lightning magic. There we go. We're all good now.
Okay, sorry about that. Oh, and the hoodlums are all dead.
Shinra.
you didn't miss a
Not my
whole lot,
problem.
actually.
Lesson 1 for life on the ground floor. Get some rest.
That was Cloud's takeaway. He just murdered 4 people.
you.
I better get some good quality sleep. So Nick, how you doing this week? It's been 2 weeks since
Well,
we played.
I found out something
Seems
mind-boggling today.
What's that?
I found out, now, okay, I'm going to butcher the name. Yoshitaka Amano
Yeah.
did the illustrations for Final Fantasy 1 through 6, right? Right?
Yeah, he also did other artwork for the series beyond that. He was most involved in FF9, but he also did art for 7, 8. He's really done all of them. He just wasn't
I don't
lead
think I've ever
character
seen any
designer
Amano art
for anyone after
Yeah.
6 and 9.
I don't think I've seen any Amano art for 7, and I would be intrigued to know what that looked like.
It's fine.
But
It's not
his
his
name
best
randomly,
stuff,
his name randomly came up. I'm reading Gene Wolfe's Shadow of the Torturer series, and
Okay.
I thought the covers of these books and the illustrations looked a lot like Amano's style. Turns out he was totally doing miscellaneous sci-fi illustrations back in the 1980s.
Oh, no shit. I mean, I
completely
know
blew
his
my
stuff
mind.
from like Sandman with Neil Gaiman. He also did the main work for Vampire Hunter D. Oh, look, it's Jessie. The lady everybody
Welcome
forgot
home,
about
honey.
until they made her
Take
hot
your
in this
sweet
game.
time. Psych.
Well, I mean, you can't be unattractive in Japanese pop culture.
Yeah. Nick, who's your favorite
Are you
waifu?
gonna let me in so we can talk in private?
Oh, she wants into your apartments? I don't
Yes,
like
she
where
does.
this is. Wait, she was already in there. Or did we just skip the
Guess I'll
3
get right
seconds
to
of
the
her
point then.
walking in?
It's cutting right to the chase.
What have you got there?
An apology for not getting you on the mission.
Not the kind of ball grabbing I was expecting.
Or not. What do you think
But-
it is?
Wouldn't it be great if she fucking like hands him Ultima,
proposition.
like having no idea what she's got in her
Nailed it
hand?
one. Gonna have to ask you to keep all this a secret from the others, though. It's a
Unacceptable.
personal matter.
Remember when
Something
Knights of
I
the
need to sort
Rounds
out tonight.
was the raid boss
Tonight?
Tonight.
to,
Oh, they
um,
did do that for
Final
14,
Fantasy
didn't they?
14?
I want you to come with me to the Sector 7
Basically,
point.
like,
I'll give you
shoot
the
through
details
every
on the way.
Eidolon in the series
That's fine by me.
Is that right?
for that game.
Don't you have a pretty big day ahead of you?
Huh. What was the
I
Knights of
do,
the Round
but
fight like? Because
if I
I
don't
never
deal with this
experienced
now,
that one.
it's
I
only
was
gonna
out
get
of it
harder.
before
It
that
was
happened.
excellent.
Really?
Anyway,
Yes,
I can
it
count on
was
you,
it was
can't I?
terrific. Yeah, look it up on
what?
YouTube sometime.
Oh,
I
okay.
can't do it justice.
Gotcha.
a down payment.
You know, one of the interesting things that I saw, like I'd kind of kept up with FF14 since I quit playing it, but one of the
We'll
really
be
big
back
ones that
before
I saw that
morning,
looked
in case you were
super
planning on
cool was you
traveling
apparently
live.
get to
Make
fight
sure
the
you've got
Warrior of
everything
Light
you
from the
need
first
before we
game.
leave. I'll wait here.
That is the
You all
one that
set?
I have never seen. I thought you were gonna say the
Awesome.
Alexander
Meet me at
fight.
the station after dark.
Oh, I was
Don't be
unaware
late.
of Alexander too. I think the last major when I quit, which was admittedly super early into like I didn't even play the
It's
first major
just another
DLC,
job.
Skybound or Skyward or Heavensward.
I want to say yes, Heaven's Word, not Skyward Sword. I almost thought
Skyward
the
Sword.
same thing. Heaven's Word, Heaven's Ward. Nah.
So right as that
right.
was coming out was where I,
They changed
you
the
know,
times.
really
Last
like
train's already
I
out.
wasn't keeping up with my
This is
like
why we
daily
borrowed these
tasks and things like that, so I was falling behind and
How did
you know,
you
Connor
guess?
was born and so I was like, you know what, it's
You've been acting weird.
I had a lot of fun with this
Talking
game and
about
it's time
one
to
thing
step
when
aside because I don't have
you're
the time to
obviously thinking
dedicate
about
to it. And now, like I
Yeah.
said,
It is
6
a
years have
l-
passed and
All right, I'll
large
give you that. But how did you know
commitment.
I wanted
it
to head
is
topside?
like
Was I
our
talking
most
in my sleep?
MMOs.
What else did I say?
No, we
But
just
the
figured
major
we wanted to see
raid
your
boss
appearance,
when
that's
I
all.
was doing it, I think was Death Guys.
Right on the head.
I want to say.
So, seeing as we don't have any family of our own,
No, I don't think that's correct.
It was,
You
it was
might be
something that looked
thinking-
like Death Guys.
Hmm.
Of
your
the
parents
turn
still
4, the turn 5 Twin Rova boss, I believe.
Okay, it was one of the Bahamut trials. I remember that.
Guess you're all
Yeah,
invited.
it was the
Here's to
Twin
all our
Rova
family
dragon.
reunions.
Okay,
yeah.
he was a pain in the ass. I mean, I did just fine. I was always super cooperative on raids, but you know, like I said, I just didn't have the time to commit to them daily.
I take it you boys
My
have a brand spanking
Problem
new
became
IDs?
with more
Yes, ma'am.
Then let's lay down
dungeons,
some rubber.
dungeons and bosses. I could not just memorize all that stuff as a paladin.
Oh, okay.
It just became so overwhelming after a while.
Yeah.
But you mastered
Boy,
just
they
about
just-
every class,
Just so you
right?
know, I'm not going plateside for the
Couldn't
reason
wait
you
to get.
think I am.
I did
Look, you saw
until
the way the
I
reactor went
didn't.
up.
Until I-
It was
I-
you, right?
Felt like to be a good paladin, I should experiment with
Isn't
every
that what you
class.
said?
Yeah, understand
And
what
then
makes them
Heaven's
tick.
Ward came
That
out,
was
and then the
wishful
grind from
thinking.
level 50 to
Deep down,
60
I know it was my
just
fault.
became
I used
horrendous.
a more
Oh, that
powerful
sucks.
blasting agent than the directions
Now
called
they
for.
came out with like what,
It had nothing to
ninjas
do with the
and
markup.
Dark Knights, and then what else do they have now?
Let's say you're right.
At this
I'm planning on using a
point,
weaker
I think the
blasting agent this
Garlinian
time.
Empire is dealt
But
with. Now it's
since
just
I
taking
can't
out the
detect
rest of the
fire, our only option is to loot a warehouse
Zodiarchs.
owned by Shinra.
Okay,
Shinra.
or Oskians, if you will.
gotcha.
With your help,
I
we
just
won't
meant
be
like what
much.
other job classes can characters choose from?
Oh, they had sages,
ID scan, ready?
red mages, dancers.
Okay,
Dark
all the
Knights.
usual suspects.
If it was in Tactics or any other game at some point, it was in there. Boy, they couldn't wait to get him on that frickin' motorcycle.
No, they had to put him on halfway through instead of wait until the very end.
They'll come for us.
I will admit though, this is substantially cooler than it was
like
in the
Mario
PS1.
Kart.
Yeah, it's kind of got Mario Kart-esque controls.
Soldiers get mandatory training.
No, not only because it looks like you're racing against Donkey Kong over there.
Blame me if you get sick.
That's just Badger from Breaking Bad.
Someone's having fun.
Okay, so I don't know if it's you
Oh,
or me
Jiminy
tonight.
Cricket, is there ever a net where someone's not talking in this game?
Nope. Real quick, not to alarm you for the stream or anything, but I mentioned I've been having some PC issues with my CPU just getting bogged down by OBS. I'm not sure if that's what the cause of this is, but you keep cutting out every couple of seconds. It's not like annoying or anything, but like it is noticeable. And so I'm not sure if there's anything going on with your internet tonight, or if it is just my CPU chugging under the weight of OBS all of a sudden.
Well, let's see what my CPU is at.
Yeah, go for it. I mean, right now you're coming in fine, but...
Let's see, that can go, that can go, that can go. That can go.
I mean, overall you're fine. It's just occasionally I notice it will just like stutter out for a second, and then you'll be right back.
That can go, that can go.
I like how this is just kind of par for the course with our streams on this channel. Like, we'll be doing things so long without incident, and then just all of a sudden, like a minor update will completely upset our whole operation.
Oh, okay, maybe you can answer this question for me. I promised my sister I would ask you this.
Yeah.
Who was the illustrator that did both Dragon Ball as well as the Dragon Quest games?
Akira Toriyama.
Okay, I was right. She thought that it was a woman for some reason. I was like, that don't sound
She
correct.
might be thinking of Rumiko Takahashi, who did the Ranma 1/2 series, Lam, Inuyasha. She and Toriyama like lit up the scene in the late 80s, early 90s. And I actually like her better than Toriyama, but I'm just biased because I was a big Ranma fanboy.
I think you can be, I think you can appreciate the storylines of one and the art style of another.
Well, the truth is, I only got into Ranma for the titties. I was 12, leave me alone. But it turned out to be one of like the funniest, like best action animes ever. So, you know, I stayed for the character development, of course.
Yeah, that's it's like anime night at the church youth group. They'll come for the anime, but they'll stay for Jesus.
Anime night at the church youth group. Is that a thing that they do now?
I would imagine.
I wouldn't know because like our church has like maybe 10 teenagers total, and all of them are in sports, so they don't attend youth group.
I mean, I would think that when churches began to give the okay to like Halo nights at the church, that, you know, they were willing to try anything.
Yeah. Hey, did you see Captain Mullet there?
Was he a main character? Was that Sephiroth?
No,
that would have been a good place for Sephiroth.
He's a new character that was like heavily featured in the trailers, but is literally only in the game for about 15 minutes, starting now.
Oh. You know, I really feel like whoever was the director on this game, like, watched that episode of The Simpsons with Poochie, and they were like, you know, whenever Sephiroth's not on screen, everybody should be asking, where's Sephiroth?
Where's Sephiroth? Yeah.
Yeah.
Not much of a challenge, huh?
Oh man, fucking Goofy. Have you watched any of the... Did you have Disney Plus at all?
I did, but I just didn't have enough time to watch anything.
Okay. I was going to
I
ask
got
if
to
you
watch
watched
Luca
any
with
of
my
like
brother.
the Simpsons that they've socially corrected.
Oh, you mean like how they delisted the Michael Jackson episode as canon.
And they dropped all references to the Catholic Church.
The Catholic Church one I'm not familiar with. The Michael Jackson one is a little complicated in that apparently he might have used it to groom children, but yeah.
Oh, grand.
Well,
the Catholic Church was just, it was a one-off take where they had this hilarious commercial for the Catholic Church that showed like a whole bunch of strippers, and it's like, the Catholic Church, we're changing our image. But then they thought that didn't age well because of like all the sex scandals involved in the Catholic Church, so...
how strange.
And there's a couple of other ones too, but those were the biggest ones. Michael Jackson and Catholicism are apparently the two lines the Simpsons won't cross. Or I guess rather the estate of Michael Jackson at this point.
Well, that was weird even during the original time of that episode, because like Michael Jackson did the voice work for that episode.
Yeah, I remember that
But
episode
not
being kind of
singing.
cryptic and creepy.
Well, yeah, like I
Because
was
he
saying,
played a mental patient, right? Who wasn't Michael Jackson, but totally was Michael
what the fuck is
Jackson.
going on?
I don't know. I figured if we talk about The Simpsons, it would distract us from whatever the hell this guy is. Even Cloud's like, what the fuck? What did you see that face of Cloud? That is the face of this game. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
Right? No, like I said, Michael Jackson did the voice work, but I think he was uncredited, but he couldn't do the singing due to agreements with his estate, so they had a Michael Jackson impersonator do all the singing in that episode.
Really?
Yeah, just a big flustercluck of litigiousness.
Okay.
Socially corrected Simpsons, though. I guess I'm not surprised, since it's all owned by Disney, and Disney likes to play everything safe.
I'm a little surprised they didn't incur the wrath of the real stonecutters. But
Haha!
that's still one of my favorite episodes.
I didn't realize that was a clever parody of the Freemasons.
Yes. Who
I almost said
controls the-
Shriners, but probably not.
Yeah. Ugh. Who robs catfish of their sight? Who rigs every Oscar night? We do. There it is. We do. And then there's who controls something down? Who keeps the metric system down? We do.
System down.
That's a classic.
Who holds back the electric car? Who makes Steve Gutenberg
A star, there he is. We do. We do.
And we never hear from them again, ever in the series.
Well, yeah, because they banned Homer. It's a Homer-centric show. Though, actually, remember that weird period in the 90s where Bart was the de facto main character? Like, because he was, like, the most outrageous, and so he had all of the toys and the ads and everything?
I mean, like, vaguely, I guess.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Bart's still great, but for a while it was like the Bart Simpson show featuring Homer. Homer played the antagonist more than like the slightly inept father.
Who's gonna sell better to whom? Bart's gonna sell better to kids than Homer is gonna sell to what? 40-year-old men who hate their job?
Yeah, but that got them in some hot water in the 90s. You couldn't market a show like that to kids, apparently.
Don't be absurd.
The 90s were very strange about what they allowed and didn't allow.
Well, we were like right in that transitory
You couldn't
period.
have toy commercials from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Sonic had to have Sonic Says in there because then he couldn't be on prime time if he didn't.
Right, like in the 80s, it was sort of anything goes, and like if you slap a cartoon character in there, it's for kids. But then in the 90s, suddenly like they started doing like finger quotes adult cartoons, but at the same time like the cartoons aimed at kids had to get much more like socially aware.
See, I don't necessarily agree with that argument because, like, I mean, for crying out loud, Predator was an R-rated movie in the 1980s, and yet you can still go to the toy store and buy Predator action figures.
Oh yeah, but
You know?
if you look up some like kids, quote unquote kids movies from the 80s, like you get some pretty like fucked up shit in there, right?
Yeah.
Which wouldn't pass for like PG by today's standards.
I think it's just that movies and television for kids just didn't talk down to them like it does now.
Right, no, I absolutely agree. But then what formerly was passed off as, you know, like PG or PG-13 movies in the 80s became like Adult Swim content, basically. Am I making sense?
No.
Like it was still there, they just called it something different.
Well, I mean, Adult Swim is different if we're talking about weekdays, Sundays, and Saturdays.
You failed the test.
Sunday is for the stoners, Saturday is for the angsty teenagers, maybe the weekdays, I think.
I'm great at driving.
Apparently I failed the motorcycle section.
Great at scaring your passengers, more like.
Hey, shut up, I wasn't paying attention. In my defense...
Just let me drive.
In my defense, my heart was not in that fight at all.
I think we talked about anything but that fight.
Yeah. You know, I like the motorcycle minigame, but this section is just... I mean, the section here is really good, but the mullet man and the over-the-top motorcycle action just doesn't do it for me.
Well, Chris, like I was talking with my sister Angelina earlier, sometimes you're just not the target age demographic anymore.
Well, no, but I mean, I feel like it was really aimed at people who came into FF7 during the Advent Children phase.
Go on foot from here. Don't want to draw too much attention to ourselves.
That was like 3 years after the actual Final Fantasy VII phase, was it not?
That was like 10 years. No, I guess 2005. Never mind. 8 years.
You could be, yeah, all right.
But anyways, like my beef with that has always been like one of the we've talked about this before. But one of the things that I actually really enjoyed about FF7 was that it really didn't take itself too seriously in its original incarnation. And then Advent Children came along, and it was nothing but melodrama, and I've just never been crazy about it. And over-the-top action. Like, far be it from any Final Fantasy to consider itself grounded, but, I mean, at the very least, characters in that game...
There's grounded, and then there's acting within the rules of your universe.
Yeah, like in some parts of Advent Children, Cloud, you know, is holding a 200-pound sword, and in other parts, he can leap 80 feet into the air and cut buildings in half. Like, which is it, you know? And you get a little bit of that in this game as well, like you just saw.
My belief is that Advent Children was essentially just a tech demo for whatever hi-fi DVD encoding was popular at the time.
Oh, sure, but at that point too, like in this game, they're kind of trying to marry the two concepts, and I don't think there is any marrying them. I think Advent Children is entirely its own thing, which, you know, if you enjoyed it, that's fine. It was technically impressive for its time, but like, I don't know. I'm sounding like a curmudgeon here.
I've watched it once and never gave it another 60 seconds of thought.
I watched it twice. Once when it first came out, and then later on its Blu-ray release, which was the supposed definitive edition, just to see if anything substantial was added. No, it was just a little bit more Sephiroth, which is exactly the problem with this game.
Why not just make the game about Sephiroth? Like, just have the audacity to replace Cloud with Sephiroth and see if anybody notices.
Exactly. Like, if you're already changing this much shit, well, why not just, you know, make Sephiroth
I mean, apparently
PCs?
we're already pulling Sephiroth's things and trying to, you know, redeem him, so...
Yeah, right. By the way, whatever audio issues we were having seem to have been corrected. You're coming in crystal clear now.
I just cut some background processes.
Okay, just making your computer not work as hard.
Why don't you wait around the corner over there?
Okay.
So wait, you mean these two assholes get to come inside to eat and I have to wait out in the alley like a punk?
They don't want to have another character sprite, I guess. Hey, speaking of sprites, did you play any of the Pixel Perfect remasters?
Yes, and I love them. Go ahead and bash on me.
Well, I mean, there's no opportunity to have owned one on Steam yet, so it makes sense to buy it.
So I just beat FF1, and it is absolutely my preferred iteration of that game.
No bonus content?
No bonus content, and I actually think that's a strength, because it allows... I
don't think it was very strong in that game.
It allows for the main game to... I mean, they have some modern amenities, which, yes, make it a little bit easier, but it wasn't just like the walk in the park that the GBA and PSP versions were. Like they retained some of the NES like damage caps, and I mean, you did have to think about what you were doing. Certainly, you can grind and get overpowered, especially once you get the airship. But
I can see that working for one, because the post-game content was just a hot mess anyways. It was just like a randomized dungeon. Two, I feel like people are getting short-shifted because
they
that
added
actually kind of added more to the story.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, like the post-game content in 2 for the GBA, not only was that the first playable version of FF2, but the additional content actually really added to the central narrative.
I am afraid that we're just going to get Final Fantasy IV with nothing.
Yeah, that is true. We're just getting the main story.
Yeah, and that is not worth $15 to me, and it is a big disappointment.
Well,
because I would have really liked to have had the extra content in 4, 5, and 6.
I did enjoy that very much on the GBA versions, but I also bought the 1 through 6 pack just to be able to see them all in their new iterations, and so really I'm not quite paying, the asking price for each entry. It's more like give or take $11 per entry, which isn't terrible.
I need you to grab.
I mean, for 6 games that for 5 games that I truly cherish and 1 game that I'm okay with. I'm looking at you, FF2.
Just do this for me, okay?
I'd say that's worth my $65.
Oh, so you bought the whole package?
Yes.
So the other 3 games aren't even released yet, right?
Correct. But who am I kidding? I know what they are, and I will play them. So.
Gotcha.
What's this?
But yeah, so I beat FF1, really enjoyed that, and surprisingly, I'm a couple hours into FF2 now, and it's certainly not like.
It wasn't easy.
Oh, how do I describe it? The game itself isn't good. That's a well-known fact about FF2. But given like what that system was in the 80s when it was released versus what they've been able to make it in 2021, I will say it is the most playable iteration of FF2. They, on the one hand, they scale back the amount that you can abuse the level up system. Like, you can grow your own HP and strength a little bit by hitting yourself, but you can't, like, keep mashing X and circle to cancel out commands and immediately get your weapons and magic up to, like, level 99.
Oh, see, I never knew about that trick, whatever it was.
Yeah, so they limited some of it, but on the other hand, they balanced and tweaked the enemies, encounters, and the means by which you naturally level up to the point where you don't really need to grind over much. Like, it kind of feels like you're just leveling up progressively as the narrative goes on, if that makes any sense. Like it feels like a regular RPG where, by 3 or 4 hours in, you're going to be roughly around level 20, even if you're not grinding all that much.
Oh, so they put some degree of effort into it. I thought it was just going to be like another pixel remaster. Okay. No,
they definitely did some tweaking of the gameplay formula in that one, and I think it serves it very well. It doesn't feel like a complete like lost cause like it did in its other iterations, where you're either hopelessly underpowered or criminally overpowered.
But it doesn't matter because you're just trying to get through the game as quick as possible, so it's over with.
And to the effect that it's the second entry in the series, and its narrative was fine for the time, but certainly doesn't hold a whole lot of water today. It still feels like I'm just going through it to go through it and see what's different. But at the same time, I have to give credit where credit is due. They made it functional.
After having read about Japanese history, does that affect the way you see Final Fantasy with its constant reliance on Empire as a theme of narrative?
Maybe, but I can't fault FF2 for that because it was the first Final Fantasy to do it.
Oh, I'm not casting fault. I just find it interesting.
I mean, so many properties since Star Wars have had a evil empire at the center of their conflict. And I
That
mean,
doesn't count. Star Wars is a ripoff of Dune.
well, yeah,
anyways.
exactly. So Dune did it, then Star Wars did it, but Star Wars brought it into the mainstream, so then everyone started doing it. And so, you know, if I'm going to fault Final Fantasy, I have to fault everything else, too.
You don't want me going to work on an empty stomach.
I'm planning on using a weaker blasting agent this time.
I mean, I don't go to Final Fantasy for, you know, high storytelling necessarily. I go to it because it's familiar and it's consistently enjoyable, and I like the characters and the settings. Like, that's just what Final Fantasy is to me. So, some stories, I'm like 6s, I got really invested in, but for me, like, I don't necessarily have to have a mind-blowing narrative to enjoy a Final Fantasy. Like, for instance, my favorite in the series is 5, and 5 has one of the weakest stories out of the lot.
So it's gotta be me who goes
5's story is admittedly bad, I would say.
Yeah.
You're gonna earn every
But I almost don't fault it for
Wedged
it.
between 4 and
Just do the
6.
thing where you draw everyone's attention away.
Yeah, not bad. I mean, it's meant to be a framing device for the gameplay, I suppose.
Yeah, the story is a vehicle for the job class system,
So what? Does this mean
which
we're
they
gonna have
refined
some
from
Shinra folks out
FF3
to
into,
dinner?
like, basically its best incarnation until tactics.
While you're inside, we make sure the
Though
guards
I
are
gotta
focused
say,
on
though,
outside.
to this day,
Exactly. Couldn't have
the
put it any
job
better.
class system
When you see a
has,
flare go
in my
off,
opinion,
that's your
peaked
cue.
in FF
Hit the front
Tactics.
gates and make for the warehouse plaza. The more hell you raise, the more time you buy me.
I'm a little bit surprised you aren't saying anything about that.
How much time do you think you'll
What
need?
was that?
Not too
In my
much.
mind,
I'll
the
be in
job
now.
class system in
I'll send
Final
up another
Fantasy
flare when
peaked
I'm
in
done.
FF Tactics.
We rendezvous in the vacant
Yeah,
lot
that's
up
not a
ahead.
debatable point.
I'm not saying anything because
That's not debatable.
that's like saying Lincoln was the best
be back
president.
before
Fucking
that.
duh.
Don't worry, I have something worked out. Now, let's get this done.
So, admittedly,
Wait, what is this? Ocean 11 now?
yeah. So we were just talking about how Final Fantasy generally
Jesse's dad was in there.
doesn't need to have like a mind-blowing story to be good.
Mako poisoning.
This is one area where I actually enjoy what they did with the story. They develop Avalanche, the Avalanche characters a little bit more, and not in like a staggered way. It actually kind of contributes to what's going on in the main arc of the plot. You're basically running reconnaissance and meeting with subvertive contacts to get deeper into Shinra.
Collapsed from overwork.
It's kind of cool.
And in the worst possible place.
That's always nice when a game takes a few minutes to slow down.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I feel like this is. I mean, on the one hand, they needed to expand Midgar to, you know, make it a more fleshed out place. But on the other hand, they did so here, at least, in a way that I find really enjoyable. If they had done more stuff like this and less Sephiroth and, you know, the hooded boogeymen, then I would have been all over
Jessie's
this.
got a theory about it. Thinks her dad's spirit is stuck now, between his body and the heart of the planet.
I'm sure this is
We don't
cryptic
shut
and
down
meant
the
to relate to
reactors
something
soon.
later with Aerith,
You'll
but
get
whatever.
caught up in the flow and poof.
Don't care enough to be bothered
Just
with
that
it.
I understand how
I'm
you
still
feel.
putting my money on Aerith kills Sephiroth this time around.
Yeah, and the reason I'm not paying attention to lines like this is because I don't think Square has any idea what the hell they want to do with this in the long term. Like whether they want to just make it a reflection of the original game or do something completely different. Like they're scheming it as though they have a master plan. I think they're full of shit. I think it's the Star Wars sequels all over again.
Don't tell Jessie about this, Chad, okay? When she
No,
gets
really,
back-
like they sold that
that's not a
trilogy to everybody
compliment.
as though they knew what they were doing, and they completely did not. And then they would later
He's
admitted
serious,
that.
Cloud.
Like
She'll
that
beat
was
the
just
shit out
horseshit.
of us.
Not my
And
problem.
I think that's exactly what Square's doing with the FF7 series of remakes,
Hey, it's the lot Jessie was
which is
talking
why they
about.
don't have anything to show for the
We
second
rendezvous
second
here when
game
we
yet.
got what we came for.
Gotta stay hidden. Wait for the signal.
Wasn't it amazing how badly the
Just
sequels
need to get past this
churned
gate.
out after
Mhm.
spending what $4 billion on this
Absolutely.
property?
You know, like we've joked about on this series quite a bit, I'm pretty easy to please, and I love me some Star Wars, even though I recognize that it can be very derivative. But at the same time, like, the sequels are the one area where I'm just, like, taken as a whole, it is just a hot mess. And I have
It was Jesse.
the only positive thing I have to say about it is that the first one wasn't bad.
It worked.
No, the first one felt like it was going to be a soft reboot. And,
Yeah.
That's.
And it packaged itself like that way. The criticism a lot of people have about
It was almost fun. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that was the one my sister and I had the most fun seeing.
Absolutely. The criticism a lot of people have about that one is that it's a little too close to A New Hope, but I thought the New Hope
It was
references...
very safe. Yes.
Yeah, right. It was very safe, but I thought that the New Hope references were handled with enough deference as to make it seem like, okay, here are our roots and our laurels, and now here's where we're dividing from that. And then the second one hit, and they basically just had a director with his head up his ass who decided, no, I'm gonna completely break with tradition, but only for the sake of breaking with tradition, with no game plan whatsoever. And then they brought J.J. Abrams back for the third one to just attempt to sweep up the mess.
Mm-hmm.
No need
Yeah.
for us to rush.
And so, like, what it ended up feeling like was two different movies that were trying to more thoroughly one-up each other, and both of them failing at the original premise.
We're in this together.
Don't expect
Poor,
me to
poor
save
Daisy
you.
Ridley.
If you
Yeah.
check your gear,
God
She's
bless
so
her. She was
freaking
trying
hot.
to do what she could with the material she was given,
You can
just
use
like
that
another
vending
Christian
machine over there to
Heidenson.
stock up.
And, like, I don't feel bad for her because she's hot. I feel bad for her.
Guess there's a
One, because she
train
actually
soon.
makes a
could go a few rounds
compelling
before the main
protagonist.
Man.
But at the same time, like, you're right. She was handed, like I said, a decent movie and then two follow-ups that completely contradicted, like, what she was signed on for, and she just kind of had to roll with it. Yeah, I'm not
Okay.
doing any training.
Let's go over the plan one last
I think I already mentioned, but in order to keep this under 20 episodes, we're basically going to ignore all
You start
side
things off
quests
by
and
cutting loose
training
where everyone can
sessions.
see you.
What do they got to
Who does?
train you on?
We're the backup.
Oh, at
How
this
to
point in
swing
the,
your
at
sword?
this point in the
Climb high enough
game,
to
you're
get a
actually
vantage
still
point.
supposed to be
Then
learning
you go
some
to
of the
town.
more intricate parts of combat.
I see.
Which, when you're not, at max level in the third chapter, the combat actually is pretty decent in this game. It's pretty
Hey.
engaging for an action RPG.
So, what did you want to talk
Like,
about?
there's stuff you have to pay attention to. It's not just a hack and slash like Kingdom
When
Hearts.
spring comes, I'm leaving town.
Also, I like the way
Okay.
that they redid this scene.
So why is it that we're in this
I
like
figured
backcountry
All the
village,
guys are leaving.
and they look like they just walked out of a Kohl's
But,
catalog?
I'm not like them.
Yeah, this
I'm
scene
not
was in the
going
original
just to leave
game,
for work.
if you remember.
No, I remember this scene, but this looks nothing like
I'm gonna be
a,
soldier.
this
The
looks
best of
nothing
the
like a
best.
remote village.
Like
They
Sephiroth.
look like they just walked out of Hot Topic.
The Great
Yeah,
War
but I mean,
hero, huh?
I don't think that's any different from how they looked in the
Isn't it
PS1.
pretty hard to become a soldier?
It's
Yeah.
just higher res.
So
I mean,
I
like,
won't be
that's
back for a
exactly
long
what
time.
Cloud was wearing in this
Guess
scene
not.
from 97.
Think you'll be in the
Mm,
papers?
I couldn't tell you because
I'll
the
try.
pixelation probably
Oh, yeah. I mean,
allowed
sure,
you to use
they,
your imagination a bit.
sure, they added a few zippers and buckles to his jeans,
Just
but...
promise me one thing. When we're older and you're a famous
See, I
soldier,
kind of like,
if
though,
I'm ever
when they
trapped or in trouble,
take this
promise you'll come and save me.
this setting and they have scenes where the
That's what heroes
characters
do.
actually, besides their hair, look somewhat human. And then they cut back to, like, Midgar, where it's like you said, everyone looks like they're dressed out of the Hot Topic catalog,
Fine.
but then Cloud and his friends are all
promise.
running to, like, the anime convention. But I do appreciate the effort they put in to make this scene a faithful reinterpretation of the original. Because that was one of the parts where I thought they did this story justice, was when they focused on the interrelationships
I
between
heard
the
you're having
characters.
Second thoughts.
I know we have to think big if we're going.
How
to
many
make decisions,
flashbacks do we need to have?
but not
We're having
like this.
flashbacks of things we just saw, so we're in for a few more, I'm guessing.
I feel trapped.
Eggs and chips.
Is that a British thing? Is that like bangers and mash?
Fish and chips.
Fish and chips.
I've never heard of
and
eggs and chips.
Eggs and chips.
That's the signal.
For people who don't do none of that fish food.
Let's go.
Nick, have you ever had a full English?
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, an English breakfast?
Probably not.
Oh, that seems like something you would greatly enjoy, and we may have to have that the next time you're in Bloomington. By the way, when are you coming to Bloomington?
I would certainly love to, but boy, it's hard to get away for a weekend.
Yeah, I know it. That's no excuse. I'm just gonna
Someone's
bully
gonna
you
watch
until
these
you come.
dogs.
Target
Well, hopefully, because good lord, it's already August. Not a single bullet hits.
Nope. Like, apparently that sword is also a magic shield. But he can, like, take him out with his hand. I guess that's, again, if I'm going to criticize FF7, I have to criticize everyone else. Wouldn't it be great if Cloud cut that motherfucker in half?
You can absolutely criticize everyone else. He reminds me of, like, Wolverine, like, the most violent, psychotic X-Men who just skewers people constantly.
But they have to keep it
with
PG.
his claws, but you never see any blood in the movies. Whereas realistically, he would be like, you know, eviscerating people and their guts would be coming out.
Right? I would love to... You know, when this game comes out for PC, there better be a fucking mod where they just turn on the gore. Wouldn't that be freaking hilarious?
That would be delightful.
Cloud just lobbing off heads.
Oh, somebody zapped him.
That was me. Oh, there they are. They're attacking my friends. By the way, if you ever give this game an honest playthrough, I will share with you right now the secret to the entire combat system. Basically, as soon as you get the added effect materia, just put Thunder on Cloud's sword and half of the battles go by about twice as quickly.
Oh, because it's one of those games where just one element is basically everything's weakness.
Everything is weak to lightning. Well, I mean, to be fair, it's Midgar, and you fight a lot of machine-based enemies, so what do you expect?
Give me a bit more time and I got you.
I really think Cloud's handling it just fine, Biggs. Also, the shield guys are intimidating at first, but then you just learn to roll behind them.
That's usually how it works with shield guys. That's how it was in Mass Effect.
Right, but it's one of the areas in this game where, like, the action elements actually mean something. Like dodging and block. Like, you'll notice I'm almost completely not blocking because I'm so over-leveled. But in the main game, blocking is actually kind of important.
Oh, like Batman.
Yeah, like blocking... Basically, it's the defend command, and it actually makes a difference.
When was the last Batman game to come out?
Arkham Knight.
Oh, that's right. Okay, so it's been a while.
Yeah, and we've talked a little bit about that. I think that series very much peaked at Arkham City. Though I did enjoy Arkham Knight.
Didn't a new Suicide Squad come out this week?
I think so. But I detested the first one so much that I'm probably not going to bother with it until I can see it for free.
Oh, I heard it was semi-competent, which is not at all interesting to me. The first one was great because it was such a shit show in editing.
Yeah. But, you know, there's lots of movies that are semi-competent that I consider good movies.
No, I just like when you have a multi-$100 million movie and then it's garbage, but it's made by people who should know better.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, God.
Oh, it bit his butt.
Oh, come on. That's God's humor, Nick.
But they didn't show it. They didn't show it, strangely enough, which makes me wonder if this is edited for Chinese audiences.
No, I think it's just they didn't want to incorporate damage decals on his pants.
Yeah, that's the most likely. Yeah, I can see that.
Cloud's completely okay with his friend getting gnawed to death. He's kind of fat.
Man. If only the ladies loved you that much.
I'm glad someone's enjoying themselves.
You know, I wish I could weigh like 250 pounds and have a jawline like that. It's kind of like Square doesn't fully know how to model overweight people.
This is as close to an overweight person as I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, and he's just like an average American.
Properties.
Yeah. He's meant to be comically fat, but he's just like regular America.
Look what I found. Let's give these jerks a taste of their own medicine.
And actually in pretty good shape because he can run a couple miles and, you know, lob grenades and not suffer from cardiac arrest.
He's more of the ideal of a fat person than
Yeah,
an actual
right.
fat person.
Like, he's fat, but he can still do most stuff that not fat people can do. I'm gonna cast Thunderdaga on this thing just to see if I can one-hit it.
Calling lightning.
Yep.
Now that's what I call teamwork.
Turns out I can.
Thought I heard someone say flame on. Oh, where'd these guys come from?
I think you did, and I think you're gonna be surprised who it is.
All right, assholes, show me your hand.
Oh no.
Yep. It's your boy. It's Captain Mullet.
Oh, okay, I was waiting for Sephiroth.
No, Captain Mullet has decided that he respects you, and so he's apparently committing treason.
Like, he's gonna forfeit his pension.
I know, right? Apparently that's enough because Cloud gave him the motorcycle battle he's always wanted. I'm speaking tongue-in-cheek, but that's literally the gist of this guy's character.
I want a second dance, just the two of us.
Now he wants to fight off the motorcycle to see if it's as sexually thrilling as on the motorcycle, which how could it be?
I mean, I was thinking it, but I didn't say it.
Just for the sexual thrill! The sexual thrill! It hungers to be set free!
See? I'm not exaggerating, am I?
This is getting uncomfortable.
I mean, I kind of get the feeling that, like, he would be just as happy if they, you know, dropped their swords and started making out a little bit.
It's been a long
And I don't mean
time
that
since
in,
I've
like, a
fought
ha-ha,
myself.
anti-gay way thing. I just think, like, the subtext is actually the surface text. Also, why does everyone have fucking superpowers in this game?
I'm
Oh,
as
it's just
fast
the
as
magic
I
of
ever
editing.
was. At last, our long-awaited dance
Thanks, I'm gonna freaking humiliate you now.
Little did he know.
Oh, God. That's fucking laid him out.
Oh, that was great.
He, like, wasn't... It's like he wanted a real fight, but he wasn't expecting a real fight.
Immediately flattened.
It's like the kid in middle school who always wanted to pick a fight with you, but the moment like you actually hit back, he started, no, we're not being serious.
No, it's like you lay that kid out with the first hit.
There he goes again. Oh, God. Captain Mullet is gonna be peeing blood for a few weeks.
I'm just like waiting for the supervisor to be like, you will not one of you fired at this man who broke into our top secret facility.
Such fleeting pleasure.
Sir, he said he wanted to have a dramatic one-on-one duel. For God's sake, we gotta quit sending soldiers into actual military operations.
Still sore.
They're basically just PR superheroes to keep everybody distracted from the atrocities of war that we commit on a daily basis.
I guess we'll release more of these now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think he really softened Cloud up there.
I mean, we really have an unlimited amount, but I'd really like to only deploy them in groups of 2 or 4.
You know, just because you have unlimited money doesn't mean you have to live like you have unlimited money. Yeah, see, now here's what I don't get. Again!
This is almost like self-parody.
I know. You see what I mean about this game, though? Like, one minute I love it, the next minute I just don't get it. Like, you're right, I don't feel like I'm its target audience anymore.
Until then, try not to die.
So,
I'll see you on the road, my friend.
okay, so Nick, given that farewell speech, how many more times do you think this guy will be appearing in the next 10 hours?
You know, I'm sorry, I'm just like distracted by how the bike moves. Like, it really feels like it's an asset, but they're like speeding it up beyond what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, like in those British comedies when they used to run around like a da-da-da-da-da-da. But anyways, So
Yeah, I mean, you'd think he'd be right back, like, you know, next chapter.
yeah.
Or, like, he'd be like a reoccurring, like, comic relief frenemy.
Right. Would you guess that you never see him again? Because that's what fucking happens. Because
I mean...
Square Enix can't follow through with shit, apparently.
We got to get to the Turks yet. We haven't even touched on that.
Yep. No, the Turks are coming up in between more Sephiroth scenes, but...
I'm sure we've sanitized them in this game as well.
Actually, no. The Turks are one area where this game decided to go a little bit more, like, full-on... You know, Shinra's a terrorist organization, basically. Also, here are the real Avalanche.
Your team shouldn't be here. Glad yours is.
Yeah, they kind of take this opportunity to be like, oh yeah, by the way, Avalanche isn't just Barrett and 3 of his friends blowing up shit. There's like some actual organization here.
That's all we've seen.
Yeah, but you also don't see them again, so it's just enough to like tell you they exist.
And who are they?
They also like kind of get a reference later in the game as to like how the party is able to escape a multi-billion-dollar, you know, militarized corporation without anyone noticing.
Oh, kind of like how Outer Heaven is more than just Solid Snake.
Uh-huh. But all it is really just like a wink and a nod. Like you don't get to see like the whole Avalanche infrastructure and governing board or anything like that. It's just, yeah, they exist, but that's more than you got in the original FF7.
Promised him all the materia in Midgar, apparently. Think there's any truth to that?
Well, apparently this is like the most unsecure military base in this district.
Yeah, you can just walk in and open fire with no repercussions whatsoever. It's basically Canada. Oh, God.
And they'll help you, because every now and then a guy with a motorcycle will come in and yell yeehaw.
Yeah, right. If you make
run his own men over.
Yeah, if you make frenemies with the right guy, I mean, you're good.
Looking a lot more crowded now.
Maybe you never see him because, like, the game is super realistic, and they're like, no, you are, Roche, you are going to jail.
They execute him immediately. He gets back to his office where there's like an armed entourage just waiting.
And like he's just so deep in the brig, that's why you never hear of him again.
Right. They don't just ruin his career, they ruin his family.
Well, I mean, this is Japan, not North Korea.
Yeah, I don't know.
They don't go back 3 generations. Oh, hey, it's Jessie.
Hey, everybody remember Jessie? She's pretty now. Look how pretty we made her.
Could you have been any louder? I mean, it made my job a lot easier, but...
Yeah, that's totally what we were trying to do.
What?
So off camera, she snuck in and got some updated schematics for explosives, apparently.
Oh, I was going to say she got the schematics for the Death Star, right?
Yeah, right.
Have you seen that supercut of Rogue One where the guy falls down the shaft in the Death Star or whatever, but it's looped so that it looks like he's falling and hitting those iron beams for 2 minutes?
What? No.
Never mind.
But it sounds entertaining.
It's great. It's great.
It's great.
It's like the fall just goes on for 2 minutes as people yell his name.
Really?
Hey, Nick, if you thought this game was lacking some ass jokes, here's some ass jokes.
Wow.
You guys are the worst.
Wow, this looks like
Your ass is
Deliverance from
fine.
this angle.
Yeah. Your butthole is surprisingly hairy, though.
Casualty is your underwear. This is like a bruise or a mild burn at worst.
Yep. We went there.
Now that was a gunshot.
Oh God, I'm not even gonna touch that joke. I'm not even gonna touch that joke.
In his mind, like, he's gonna go out and tell his friends that he lost his virginity.
It's not safe here.
That's
We
horrible.
should go.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, dude, I get all kinds of chicks all the time.
Yeah, Jesse, she was slapping my ass last night.
No big deal.
Back to the slums.
With a little trick,
I guess those
try
soldiers
to
just
try it.
left or something.
It's like you said, it's almost too easy to sneak past Shinra Special Forces. It's a little surprising Cloud doesn't take the extra time to
What
knife
is
their
Jesse
tires
doing?
and carve his initials into their truck on his way out.
believe HQ was running an op.
I mean,
The
look
only
at
thing
this.
that was
Nobody?
Huh.
There's literally walking past their
Great.
security.
I heard someone say it was an attack.
Hey, nobody pay attention to the dude with the 8-foot sword on his back. I mean,
This is the threat to our evil mega corporation.
innocent until proven guilty, I guess.
I'm gonna go harass this old lady. she probably had something to do with it.
What the fuck do you know, ma'am? What the fuck do you know?
I don't know anything. I was making crepes and I heard an explosion.
You're going to fucking jail.
Where exactly are we going?
Cloud walks by with his fucking scimitar. Oh, go right ahead, sir.
We should have everything we need
You
for our next
you seem trustworthy.
Sure hope so.
Yeah.
By the way, what do you put in your hair? Can I get some of that?
Hey, what the hell, man?
Like I said,
Cloud was
I
just saying
appreciate
how
the
he wants
effort
to come
to
back and
develop
try to be more
Avalanche more,
special.
but some of the things that they do, like to go about it, it's just weird, and it doesn't fit with
That's
the tone of anything else they establish.
I mean, you see it, and then the end product is like Ghost telling you not to change the future, but the future is already changed.
Right. That's exactly what happens here. I think I've told you that, but
I've essentially heard how the ending goes
Yeah.
down, and it sounds so bad. I almost have
It
to see
is.
it to believe it.
it's criminally bad. But what makes it so bad is that there's flashes of absolute brilliance. Like, there's parts of this game that are the best Final Fantasy has been in a decade. And then there's other parts that, like,
Bingo.
what were they even trying to do?
I have figured my dad got it wrong, but nope.
And there's
You're
very
just
little
like you
in
said.
between. It's either so good that you can't put it down, or so bad that you want to gouge your eyes out.
50-50 is pretty good odds if you ask me.
Wait, are these parachutes? Couldn't
Yes,
make
but they
these?
couldn't bother to render them. Oh wait, no, here they go. They actually did.
We needed to break into this top secret facility for parachutes that we probably could have
Thanks,
made.
guys.
No, I
really
think
appreciate
I
you
think she
coming all this
planted
way
the
with me.
parachutes as their
And
escape
like
route.
I said before,
Oh,
I'd be
okay.
grateful if you kept this
Because
between us
she
until
lives
after
right down the
mission.
road from here.
I don't want to complicate things.
Sure.
I also like that they stopped, like, if you listen here, they took like a page from Top Gun soundtrack. I'm gonna turn up the volume here just a little bit.
Yep.
You hear this shit?
You know, I've never
Wait,
seen Top
I
Gun.
almost forgot.
Okay, you don't
One
need to
more
see
thing.
Top
But I
Gun
can hear
to
it.
know this song.
Stop it! What in the hell are you trying to...
Just listen.
Easy, you'll make us fall.
Not if you do first.
Well, I mean,
Swing
we're
by
gonna
my
fall
place
anyways
after,
in a moment.
so I can pay you in full.
Roger that,
Oh,
Maverick.
my.
Sex at your house later.
Wait! Give me a minute!
But I mean, really, are you hearing this shit?
Why you have to be such a hard ass, bro?
I ain't your bro.
See, that's a good line.
Yeah.
But listen to this.
You know they're making a Top Gun 2?
You mean this isn't Top Gun 2?
Well, no, this is just the Japanese localization of 1, I assume.
I mean, if some Pearl Jam lyrics suddenly, like, popped in here, I would not blink an eye. Also, oh, for a second there, I thought that was
Wish I
Cloud's
could've
hand.
done more.
That is what I thought
Just
as
got
well.
hurt.
Cloud's just like,
You took one
he
for the team.
completely breaks
That blank,
character.
emotionless face just
Yeah?
grasping his butt.
Yeah.
Feels like we're flying high these days.
Now, more than ever.
He's a keeper, all right.
Anyway, so that was the Top Gun track.
I just
It's
want to do a
that
hard cut.
magic moment.
I just want to do a hard cut to where the plate falls and crushes everybody.
Yeah, right. Well, you know, that's exactly what that scene is meant to build up. Avalanche is riding high. They're getting organized. They have good support, and then, you know,
Oh, I
everything
rolled on my
goes to
own.
hell in the next
After all,
chapter,
I'm only
which
a
is kind of a
little
cool
sore.
contrast. I appreciate that. But again, like,
It's cool.
Roach
We'll go
and everything else
Aw,
going
thanks,
on with Sephiroth
Cut
just
that out.
don't seem to fit
This
this narrative that they're building up.
Think Jesse and Biggs.
That's what
made
happens
that
when you try to
set?
build a game
guess.
by committee.
They're doing too much. They really are.
Other places anyway.
Sure.
And then let's not even forget the fucking specters of Christmas past, like manipulating the fate of the entire. Like,
I'm
again,
glad I'm not
who
the
has
only
time
one
for
who
all
every
this
time
shit?
they appear hears Ebenezer.
Yeah, right. I am the ghost of Christmas past. Touch my balls and I'll kick your ass. What?
I don't think that was in. Was that in the original Charles Dickens?
Yes, that is Dickensian to a T.
Okay.
Well, this is Big's place. I guess he hasn't made it home yet.
Guess not.
He didn't survive the parachute
He's a
operation.
worst-case
He's
event.
gone.
He's got a habit of overthinking things, worrying about all the possible outcomes till his head hurts.
Wouldn't have guessed.
And when he worries, I worry. Anyway,
I also
head
love
on
the
over to
usual
Jesse's.
Square Enix things where like they're fully rendered cutscenes, like everyone is super emotive and it looks amazing. But then when they do like just travel dialogue, like the characters do like the wooden soapbox animations. You know?
Knocking stuff over.
All right, we're gonna have a little more
This is where
sexual
Jesse
innuendo with
lives.
Jesse, and we're gonna call this an
men are
episode.
not allowed inside.
That was a fairly self-contained episode that
Lots
worked
of
out
pretty
pretty
girls
well.
It
trying to
did.
make it big
Yeah,
on
I
stage
liked
live
the
here.
whole Avalanche
So don't hang
diversion
around or they
overall,
might get
even
the
though I
wrong
think
idea.
what they did with Roach was just fucking ridiculous.
I'm telling you this for your own good.
I don't even
Bob.
know if his name is
People
pronounced
around here
Roach,
love
but he
to
seems like a
gossip.
roach.
They know
I
about
believe it's
that
Roche
much.
because it's spelled the same way
Nah,
as
it's
Roche
all
in
good.
Shadow of the
They think she's an
Torturer.
actress.
Oh, what
Oh.
That's
Shadow
where the
of the Torturer?
similarities
One more
end.
thing, bro. It's
What?
all a game to her.
Shadow of the
Don't
Torturer?
fall
What?
for it.
Refresh
You
me.
lost me.
Well, that's what we were talking about earlier because
Life sustains and
Amano
loves
did
to
some
play.
art for those books.
Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm smart.
Yeah, that would be Gene Wolfe's medieval fantasy book that is secretly a backdoor sci-fi novel.
Oh, cool.
You know about the secret reactor jobs? Even people from the undercity.
I'm gonna try to
But yeah,
find
I'm playing so many freaking RPGs right now, it's ridiculous. I am swamped. I've got Bravely Default 2, which I'm about
Hey
3/4
there,
of the way
Bigums,
through.
Reggie,
I took a diversion to
Smalls.
play the Final
Got a
Fantasy
new friend
NES
to meet
remakes.
you.
We're doing this
These
channel
little guys are on
with
guard duty
FF7.
today.
And then all the while, I am waiting for the second part of
Thanks for seeing me
uh,
home.
Fantasian
Really sorry
to come
about
out
Travis.
on the
It's all
Apple
good, bro.
Store.
It's kind of weird. when you
Oh
call me
yeah,
that.
that's right. I was interested, then I
Hey,
remembered
don't
it's
be
an Apple
scared.
Store
Deep
thing.
down, he's a big
I gotta
softy.
say though, I beat the
It's
first
okay.
part of it, and it's
It's okay.
pretty damn good.
Good job, guys. Great work.
Remember when
Aw,
Final
I missed
Fantasy
you
IV,
too. Oh, big,
the after
Captain
years
so
started
tough.
as a cell phone chapter
And
game?
you ready?
Yeah, and then
Hey,
I'm
bro,
pretty sure that's what'll
wanna
happen with
chill
Fantasian
me
too.
and the gang for a bit?
I don't see it being a
who's the
permanent
gang?
Apple
The
exclusive.
cats,
They'll probably
Tony,
release a
who
Switch
else?
version or something.
Bigamous Rex, Reginaldo.
But
Mr.
it's a
Smalls?
phenomenal
Right.
little RPG. It's a complete self-contained story. There's no like, additional Square Enix bullshit you have to purchase to enjoy the whole thing.
It's
and it
not setting up
feels-
the Fantasian cinematic universe.
Right, correct. And it really feels like they completely lifted it out of their PS1 era philosophy of design. It's very FF7 through 9-esque. What did you guys
Remember
want
when
me
a
to do?
game could just be a game
Yeah.
instead of a multimedia franchise?
Yeah, and for all of Apple's, PR disasters, like I really feel like their game philosophy on the arcade is emblemized, if that's even a word, in Fantasian. They did really well with it,
Without
and I will
further
give them
ado,
credit for that.
Here you are.
More materia. You have a
Thanks for
weird
stepping
way
up,
of making
Merc.
materia sound like sex, and then it
And
always
now
ends up
for the
being
cherry on
materia.
top.
She slips another materia into his back pocket right now.
Depends.
Like,
Mind coming over
Well,
tomorrow
that is
night?
canonically
My
gay,
roommates
right?
should all be
I
out
mean,
for a while.
that would explain all of his
Just
reactions
let go already.
of just complete disinterest
Only
and
if you promise
disdain
to
for
come back
women.
tomorrow night.
yeah, right. I mean, there's
Deal?
like playing it cool, and then there's like cock blocking yourself.
There's
Look
the
at your
only time he
options
shows
here.
emotion is when Sephiroth is around.
Well, like, why even make this a choice? how
Will
much
you
are
come back tomorrow?
Nick, how severely are we not going to sleep with her? Let's leave it open for the
I'll
fangirls.
think it over.
Really? You will? I'd make a mean pizza, I'll have you know. Marsh, Loosh, Black Millie, Red Jelly. I use only the best ingredients. Sound good?
I still can't tell if you're talking about sex. Can we just be honest with each other?
You are so adorable, you know that? You just leave everything to me. It'll be great.
No, every time I do
Well,
that, you just keep handing me more materia.
Wouldn't it be fun after that? She just like drops a really graphic line here about like, oh, by the way, I'm gonna
Shag your brains out, baby.
right. It's like she just opens the door and she just says something incredibly explicit
Yeah, right.
with no innuendo whatsoever.
Bring protection. And then she shuts the door.
You want to leave?
Let's see here. Okay. Yep, this is a good breaking point here because we just finished this whole side story, and like I said, I thought they did a fine job with it overall. Like Roche and the weird motorcycle section aside, and yeah. So
I thought you said the weird motorcycle sex scene because like my brain malfunctioned, but then that wouldn't have been too far off.
no,
'cause
right? That
was,
wouldn't have been super out of place given what else they've done.
I have not seen metal on metal porn like that since Transformers by Michael Bay.
Boy, Lindsey Graham is seeing some hard days, isn't he?
Yeah, but he's living his best life now that he's out and about.
Yeah, now that he's recovered from COVID and has decided again that it's not real. Anyway, Nick, we will catch you next time where the story is gonna pick up where it did in the course of about 10 minutes of the original FF7's runtime. So we're going to the Sector 5 reactor.
Delightful. I'm sure it will open with more Sephiroth.
You are not wrong. We will see you next time, buddy.